state committees and things to join us to speak to the issues that are going on. So you'll see a small sliver of all of the work that's been done this past year. So I just wanted to take this minute to thank the committee, all the people who have put this event on, and many of them over a number of years. Thanks for all your hard work. It takes many calls and lots of logistics, and we're really excited to bring you this event on February 1st.
Awesome.
Do we have Robin yet?
Well, I think the parts that Robin's talking about, we're going to be Robin and Kate, so.
Yeah, okay. We will go ahead and get started. Hopefully she can jump in and join us here. Welcome again. We are excited to have you. I'm Lauren Sheehan. I'm the co-chair, or it really takes a village. There are many of us, but one of the chairs of the Hike the Hill Committee for this year. And we are looking forward to seeing you on February 1st, 2017 in Olympia. We've planned and gotten a lot of these logistics together for you over the last year, and we're just really excited for the energy and for all of us to convene in Olympia to share about occupational therapy and to support the issues that are important to us in Washington State in 2017. Sarah, take it away.
Hi everyone, this is Sarah Jensen. I'm this year's your WOTA president this year, and just wanted to also welcome you to this training and for your participation in Hike the Hill Day. I think that most of you are logged in under listen only mode, but just to ensure that everything goes smoothly, please make sure you mute your phone or computer. And then if you have questions throughout the session, please make sure to just enter them into the chat box, and we will address some of those at the end. So I also just wanted to give Lauren a huge thank you. She's done a lot of the work along with her committee members preparing us for this day, and along with that she's also our AOTA representative for our state, so she has a big job this year. So with that, we can pull up the agenda for tonight, which is just going to help prepare you for what to expect on Hike the Hill Day and to learn more about what this year's ledge priorities are, and of course to have the opportunity to ask any questions and to learn more about staying engaged in advocacy throughout the year. So with that, Cheryl will take it away.
All right. So by now, many of you will have already contacted your legislators, because meeting with directly face-to-face with your legislator or their assistant is a huge part of Hike the Hill Day. But if you haven't yet, there's a link here for you to find the website. It's very, very easy to find on the washington.gov, wa.gov website. You can find your legislator's information, and at this point, if you haven't made one yet, I would definitely recommend giving them a phone call instead of an email, because you want to get through as soon as possible. And you also want to email Lauren to see whether, you also want to check the link for what appointments are already made for your district. For example, I'm District 48, and I have 3 appointments with the senator and 2 representatives. So if you're in my district, you don't need to make your own appointment. You would just join in mine. And then you can email Lauren to join officially into the other meetings. And another meeting that might already be scheduled, and you also want to log your appointment on the link there. You do want to follow up again. I try to do it a week before, follow up with the legislator and the assistant to confirm your meeting. That's it for that slide. And this is one of the most fun parts for me, is getting ready to meet with your legislator. Whether you know them already or not, you really want to refresh your memory of who they are, read their biography, figure out what they've supported in the past, and what committees are they on. Can you make a connection to one of those? OT is such a broad field. You should be able to make some sort of connection, whether it's if they're in healthcare, that would be an obvious one, or education. But you can find a way to make a link to almost any different committee, and figure out about their personal life and personal and professional interests. You know, I follow all three of my representatives on Facebook, and I figure out, like, literally last year at Hike the Hill, I spent 3 minutes of my meeting talking to Joan McBride, my representative, about a book that I knew she had read recently that I had also read, and that's just a way for me to make a personal connection to her that may be more memorable to her beyond just, you know, asking her to support legislation. So asking them to support legislation and advocating for OT is a huge part of the event, but personal connections are also huge and lasting for long term. So definitely make sure you do a little bit of homework on your legislator before on the 1st. And AOTA has some fabulous resources. One of them is, oh, back on that slide, the 10 tips for talking to your legislator. That's a great resource on the previous slide, slide 6. And sorry, and then there is a great article also, Making 10 Minutes with a Lawmaker Count. It's really good to do your research before. So I recommend checking out those links. Okay, now I'm done.
Okay, so we'll hear from Kate, our great WOTA lobbyist, on this year's legislative priorities, and if Robin's on the call, she can chime in about, again, how we can support legislation this year.
Thanks so much, Lauren. This is Kate, and I am so delighted. How many people do we have logged on listening to us tonight?
We have about 51. We have 51.
Oh, fantastic. This is going to be a wonderful day. I must say, this will be my 5th Hike the Hill, I believe, with WOTA, and I love all of the energy and attention and the students coming to learn and the professionals coming to advocate. We're going to have a really good time on February 1st. And we also have a wonderful, simple, important priority that we have put at the top of our agenda this year, which is to finally make sure that OTs working in the public schools get treated fairly in terms of their compensation. Because right now, if the schools hire a teacher or a counselor, they can recognize in their salaries the years that those folks have worked in previous schools or other settings related to their work in the school, up to 15 years. But if they're hiring an OT, even if that OT has had 15 years of experience working with kids, working with school-age kids, even working as a contractor in the schools, they're only allowed to pay them for 2 years. And that makes it really hard for the schools to recruit the OTs that they need to help the kids that are in those schools benefit from their public education. So we are working in a coalition along with some of the other education service associates. Not ready to move on that slide yet. Could you go back, please?
Sorry. There you
go. Thank you. And we will provide you with a fact sheet that goes through all of these details that I'm sharing with you. So if you're taking busy notes, that's great. It'll help you remember, as you know. But we will also have this all written down for you with a story about the teachers get up to 15 years. OTs currently only get 2. That makes it very hard for the schools to hire the OTs that they need. And so it's time, and it's also a part of the state's obligation under McCleary. You may have heard about the McCleary lawsuit that requires the state to fully fund education. That requires them also to fully fund special education. And part of that full funding means paying the staff that they need to provide education and special education at an appropriate rate. So I think that I've talked to at least half a dozen legislators just last week about this. Folks are nodding, they're interested. One of the ones that was a little skeptical signed on as a co-sponsor to our bill. We now have a bill running in the House as well as in the Senate, and our fact sheet will list those bill numbers. We have Lori Dolan from the 22nd District in Olympia as our prime sponsor for the House bill. We have Judy Warnick from the 13th District in Moses Lake and a fellow sponsoring our Senate bill. So we have a Republican sponsoring in the Senate and a Democrat sponsoring in the House, and people of both parties in both chambers helping us with this. So hopefully this will be an easy message to deliver, and we are looking for your help in educating as many members as we can get to about the importance of fixing this unfair problem. Now you can move on next. Thank you. Is Robin
okay,
back with us?
I don't think she's been able to join us
Okay.
Can you go through just a general, so most of these legislative meetings will be, either with the legislator or their aide, 15 minutes. Kate, talk us through a little bit what the structure of those meetings looks like or should look like to be most effective.
Well, I like to explain that legislators all have something I call structural ADD, attention deficit disorder. They have 15-minute meeting after 15-minute meeting, and it could be about gooey ducks, it could be about coal trains, it could be about marijuana, it could be about OTs in the schools, and it could be about the Voting Rights Act. Their brains are swung in every which way every 15 minutes, and so you really don't have that much time and focus from any meeting with the legislator. Pretty much they want to know who you are, where you're from, what you want. They need to figure that out. So the first thing you need to do in every meeting is to introduce yourselves. If you've got name tags or even sticky name tags with your names on, that will help them not be worried about remembering your names during the meeting so they can focus on the content of your message. And it is always worth explaining what occupational therapy is with legislators. We got a few who know. J.T. Wilcox's sister-in-law is an OT. His mother was an OT in the schools. But there are also many legislators who have had no experience with OT and won't know what you do. So it'd be helpful to just say, I'm an OT. I work in this location, or I'm in school hoping to do this kind of practice. And I wouldn't go way deep into what OT is, but just a sense that, I work with kids between the ages of birth and 3 to help make sure that kids with disabilities can play, and that will promote their regular brain development. Or I work with seniors who are losing their vision, and I help adapt the things in their home so that they can make themselves lunch and answer the phone even without being able to see it very well anymore. Or I work in the workplace, and I help make sure that people's computer setups won't hurt them if they're typing a lot during the day. Whatever it is that you do, you can explain it, practice explaining it quickly, because what you want to spend most of your time on in this visit is our request for years of service for OTs working in the schools. Even if you're not planning to work in the schools, hopefully you've learned enough through your training to be able to talk about the fact that a lot of OTs do work in the schools, and it's a critical part of making sure that kids with disabilities benefit from their public education. So if you do work in the schools or have worked in an externship placement or clinical placement with the schools, or have experience that brought you to being an OT working with kids, I think that you can illustrate that with a personal story. Those stories are what people remember the most. So I would encourage you to share a story and practice it so that you can share it in less than 2 minutes. They don't have a whole lot of time. It's not our usual conversation about ourselves and the things that we're passionate about. So work on doing it quickly. And this slide here shows a lot about the different ways to educate about OT. If they're interested, if you get the points about the Education Service Associates done and they've agreed and they will ask their leadership for funding, then you can go into this background stuff. But don't go there until you've made the request about our legislative priority this year. So these slides are going to be available online for you to review after this presentation, so I'm not going to walk you through bullet point by bullet point. And I'm going to hand it to Lauren to share with you what's going to go on Hike the Hill Day itself. I will be there on Hike the Hill Day. I will give you a briefing on the message and our priority legislation again at that hearing, at that gathering. So look forward to meeting you all, and please introduce yourself to me when you get there. Thanks.
Thank you, Kate. Kate is not an OT, but she baffles me every time by really coming across very well studied, and obviously has spoken with enough of us to really understand occupational therapy, and we just really appreciate her leadership and guidance as our lobbyist. So one thing to note, you will have a chance to practice your 15-minute, although probably not in total, but at least your message for your legislators on Hill Day. We'll have some breakout time to really practice kind of those definitions of OT and our ask about the years of service bill rolling off your tongue so that you can hopefully be less anxious about delivering that. So know there will be some time for that. In the morning, we will get a welcome, kind of a lay of the land, and you'll hear some presentations from both legislators and some other folks that'll be joining us that we'll see in our next slide eventually here, which is to support additional information about the years of service bill and kind of what's happening in Washington State. Go back there one slide, not quite done, thanks. After you arrive, so there'll be 30 minutes between 8:30 and 9 o'clock where we're hoping that you roll in during that time. Check your legislative appointments. We'll have those all laid out. Make sure that we have the information that you have. We're working to consolidate those appointments now, so you may hear from me to say, oh, it looks like these two participants are both in the same legislative district. What do you say you join forces and go to this meeting together? And then we're always trying to consolidate appointments, which is why we really encourage you to check that list of appointments before you set up an appointment if you haven't already. We want to be respectful of the legislator's time and only have one meeting that's related to WOTA and our ask. One other thing, once you arrive, you check your legislative appointments. I really encourage you, we encourage you to get a lay of the land as far as where you are and where your legislative appointment will be held. There will be several of us around that can kind of help direct you, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to do a walkthrough from the Columbia room, which is where we'll be meeting, to wherever the legislator will be meeting you, often in their offices. So making sure that at least directionally you know where you're headed, and that's not a point of anxiety in getting to your legislator meetings. Along with the agenda, you'll also receive a menu of options, and this is great. This is actually a request from previous students and participants. There are many different things that you can do on Hike the Hill Day. We have some structured time that you'll see in the agenda, but there are also some times where a lot of the participants will be off at legislator meetings, and you can do a number of different things to fill your time and bring value to your Hike the Hill Day, including campus tours, attending some committee hearings, which have been really enjoyable, I think, for those that have gone in the past. And then we're adding some networking opportunities this year, just ways to connect with OTs, OTAs, other OT students, talk about particular practice areas, just really get to know some of the other people that are there that aren't from your own cohort. And then individual meetings with your legislators, that's the main event. You want to schedule those anytime. I'm seeing them roll in, so thank you. Continue to add those to our list. Preferably afternoon, but our encouragement to you is to get those at any time that you can. And a big heads up, we sort of struggle with this every year in the review of the event. It requires organized flexibility, truly. There is a lot going on, and some things have to pivot based on legislator availability and just things that happen throughout the day. So put your flexible OT hats on and kind of join us for the ride. Again, it's a bit of a choose-your-own-adventure day, and we will keep you informed and on track as much as we are able. Again, some exciting things this year. We're going to be hosting an advocacy panel, hearing from some OTs in different practice areas that have been advocates for the profession, and some networking, and of course, at the end of the day, debriefing as a group and kind of collecting our takeaways. This is our tentative agenda. You will have this on paper along with the menu options of some other things that you can do during downtime. If you are volunteering with us, you should have heard from Tracy Morose, and we would ask that you join us at 8 a.m. for orientation. If you're participating but not volunteering, please check in between 8:30 and 9 on the early end if you can, so that you can find your legislative appointment locations. And then the rest, of course, as you see, we'll have legislator visits. We will be speaking with someone from the educational service. What does the acronym stand for in total?
The Washington Education Association. They are the teachers union that also represents the OTs that work in the school, and they're a part of our coalition coordinating all of the different education service associates in this years of service request.
Great. We'll also hear from the OIC, again, another acronym, the Office of the Insurance Commissioner, about a prior authorization rule that we have been following over the last couple of years.
Yep, that's fair.
Yeah. The OT advocacy panel, of course, that's something new to us. We will be hearing from Rose about the WOTA PAC, which is the Political Action Committee. You can choose to do tours or other types of things to fill some time in the afternoon. We'll role play your meetings, as I mentioned. We will have legislators actually coming to speak with our group, which is those legislator visit slots, and then, again, the menu of options for the afternoon. We do ask that you stay for as much of the day as you're able to, really to limit disruption, and then also just to make sure that you get as much out of the day as is possible. We're meeting at the legislative building in the Columbia room. Do a little bit of homework just to get familiar with where that is located. Of course, here's a couple of pieces of directions from north and south, and parking information it can be found on this link. There is limited parking, so we do encourage as much as possible for you to carpool, to connect with your cohorts, other people that you know that need a ride. And if you are wanting to find a ride but haven't been able to, reach out and we can see what we can do to network for you and with you.
And can I chime in real quick? There is a Facebook event invite, so if you go onto the WOTA page, you can join the event and you can post there on Facebook and try to find a ride that way too.
Great. Thanks, Cheryl. Facebook guru. Let's see. So again, take a look at the campus map, kind of get your bearings so you can find us. And then if you know in advance where the legislator meeting is, even just looking at the map and kind of getting familiar with where you'll be headed from our location at the Columbia room is a great idea as well. Next slide. This is just a couple of pictures from previous years to get you really excited. We take an annual picture on the Capitol steps, so that will be your face there in the middle somewhere. And of course our WOTA lobbyists and some of us that have been involved in Hike the Hill over the years. We are very excited to have you. It's a wonderful event with tons of OT energy and just a really exciting day. And Rose will tell us a little bit about what follow-up after Hill Day looks like.
Hi, my name is Rose, and I've been doing OT advocacy for, I figured out today, like 17 years now, so that's pretty exciting, with my colleague Kathy, who you will hear from next. So just a quick word about thank yous. So thank yous are a great way to help your legislators remember you, to let them know that you appreciated their time with you. Handwritten cards are always a really nice personal touch if you have some, and we will provide some note cards on site. You know, if you forget them or you're losing note cards, you can always send an email too, but personal cards are really nice, and there's a sample of what you can write. Sometimes we've delivered those notes at the end of the day on that day, if you're really good and you get it done then, or you can mail it to them direct after the event. So just a nice touch to do a little follow-up with your legislator, and then hopefully they'll remember you in the future. So we'll go on to the next. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about how to stay engaged year-round. So a couple points. I have been a member of both WOTA and AOTA for actually my entire 30-year career. And I am because I really feel like it's my professional responsibility as an OT practitioner So I know sometimes people forget or they can't afford it or, you know, whatever the reason is, I just feel like it's really important that it's part of me being an occupational therapist. So I really encourage you to consider that. The other thing is, even if you're shy or you're not comfortable advocating directly with legislators, you can still support your OT associations who are advocating for your profession and your clients. So the work that we do, for instance, a lot of us on the legislative committee are have developed skills in doing this and are comfortable and get excited about it. So there's a place for everybody to be involved and support wherever you're at. And know that, you know, when you are a member, your dues help support our OT lobbyist, Kate White-Tudor, and she's very critical to navigating the political arena and helping us to protect our clients in our profession. And then we have the same kind of lobbyist happening at the national level. So another piece of that is the political action committees, which we have both WOTA and at AOTA level. And when you contribute to these funds, they are specifically earmarked to support candidates or legislators who support our OT issues. So instead of, you know, the surrounding advocacy activities, we actually keep track of legislators and develop relationships with legislators, for instance, who sponsor like our Years of Service bill this year. We'll want to really let them know we appreciate them, and when it's campaign time, we'll probably give them money and say thank you and we want to support you and keep you in office. So that's what a WOTA PAC's all about. And then you see this, the line about the AOTA Legislative Action Center. That's a really great place to click and see what is happening at the national level, what are current national legislative issues. And sometimes those are very similar to what we're doing locally, and sometimes those are bigger issues that are only at national level and that we might have some different ones at the local level. But it's interesting to stay connected at both. And last year I achieved my bucket list in 2015, and I got to go to my first AOTA Hill Day in Washington, D.C. And I'll tell you what, if Olympia is exciting, going to D.C. is twice as exciting, and I really enjoyed that experience. So I encourage you to become involved at whatever level you would like to. So my conclusion here is, will your OT profession still be alive and well in 10, 20, or 50 years? So if you want to assure that, get involved and support WOTA and AOTA to make sure that OT continues to make a positive difference in people's lives. So enjoy the rest of the webinar, and I'm passing the buck to Kathy.
Hi, my name is Kathy Stewart, and here are a few other ways to stay engaged year-round in the legislative and political advocacy work. You can actually, sometimes it's even more effective, or another way to be effective in working with your legislator is to schedule a meeting with him or her in your hometown before or after a session. So the regular session usually is from January through April, and you're lucky if you get scheduled a 15-minute meeting with them. But during the time outside of the legislative session, from about May through December, you can meet with them at a local coffee shop or their district office or some other convenient place for a longer meeting where you can really get to know them better and share with them the OT issues that are important to your clients. You can also volunteer to help out on a local political campaign. That can be very effective. In fact, I had a great opportunity this past year to support and campaign for one of the candidates for our District 30. So I'll be able to share with you more details when we come together for Hike the Hill. And I'd love to share some of the stories I had in helping campaign for this candidate, and he actually won. So I'm very, very excited about that. He knows some OT issues, and he has been a big advocate for people that are more marginalized and disenfranchised, such as domestic violence and elder abuse. So he's done a lot of work in that area, and I know he'll be a great legislator for all of us. Another way to stay engaged is to keep track of legislative issues that concern your own OT practice, and then let WOTA know. You are actually the eyes and the ears of our profession in Washington State. So when you have a question related to either legislative issues or our scope of practice, then be sure and contact WOTA. And if you're a student, you will get to know the process a little bit more on Hike the Hill Day on February 1st. And I think once you are out in practice, you'll remember this Hike the Hill Day, and you will realize how important it is to advocate once you're a practitioner. So let WOTA know your concerns, and if at all possible, we would love to have any of you join our WOTA Legislative Committee. We can always use extra ears and eyes and hands to help us out. Next slide.
And if you need anything else, give us a holler at intouch@wota.org. I know some of you had expressed some challenge a little while back with email address. There was a little glitch for a very short time, but please reach out that way or to any of us directly if there's any more information you need as we get closer to Hike the Hill Day. Again, we hope that you feel that your time spent with us is valuable. We think that you will. Investment in, of course, our profession as a whole, but in Washington State especially. And you'll hear some great stories, both from Kathy and Rose's perspective and other OTs who have advocated, and some of the great things in Washington State and beyond that have happened in sort of these grassroots advocacy efforts. So we are very excited to see you there. Just a reminder, if you do have any questions, go ahead and add those to the chat bar, as we'll be addressing them soon.
So just to wrap things up, thank you all so much for taking your time tonight. As the slide says, advocating in the political arena is critical to occupational therapy as a profession and how we serve our clients, and making sure that they have access to services and that our scope of practice reflects what our values and our skill set are. We hope you feel prepared for February 1st in meeting with your legislator, and please, 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 if you have any questions or anxieties, we'd love to hear them. Last year, just a quick note, I was a student, and I've had experience in advocacy in the past and participating in Hike the Hill. A lot of my peers had not, and there was a lot of anxiety. And at the end of the day, a lot of my peers came back saying it was a very positive experience, that by the time they got to their meeting, they felt prepared and confident in being able to represent OT and the issues that we're bringing to our legislators, and also that our legislators get really excited to see us. We are their constituents. We are the people they represent, and they love hearing from us. They really is a symbiotic relationship for the most part in my experience, and they are very thankful that we take the time out of our day to come see them, just as we are thankful for their time. So thank you so much, and I think a big thank you to Lauren and our committee members who have put together this awesome presentation. I think we're ready for questions if anyone has any. Feel free to type them in the box. One other quick note while we're waiting to see if anyone has any questions. I just want to also say that, as Kate says, she loves it when people come up and talk to her. All of us on the committee love getting to know people that are a part of WOTA, students and practitioners. And if you have any questions too, in my experience, everyone associated with WOTA has been extremely supportive in making sure that our questions get answered.
All right, we're not going to wrap up with 0 questions. I'm sure there are some out there. Send us your questions, comments, concerns. This webinar will also be available after today for folks that couldn't join us. So if you're headed back to school programs and know that some of your cohorts weren't on the line tonight, we'll be able to have a link available to replay. We really can't stress enough the importance of preparing yourself. Some of the anxieties that students and practitioners both have felt in the past can really be minimized by knowing where you're going, knowing a little bit about the issues that we're supporting, and we will plan to get a fact sheet out, so the same handout that you'll have available or very similar on the day of the event, we will send out prior to, so that you have a little bit more time to take a look at those bullet points and the things that we are asking that you share with your legislators on Hill Day. So any final questions, concerns?
So this is Nick. There are a few questions that have come in.
Okay.
We have a couple of people who would like a recap of what to do to get an appointment with your legislator, and I can just speak to that briefly. At the beginning of this presentation is a link. Also in all of the emails that have been sent out, there's a link where you find your legislator, and there's a form that, and there's a sheet that you check to see who has that, if there has been an appointment made with your person, you can join that meeting, or if there's not a meeting with that person scheduled, you will go ahead and fill out the form that's also linked to and fill that out.
No.
Is that
I'm
right?
going to move back on that. No, it's not actually, Nick. And this has been used in the past, so thanks for letting me clarify. You will check the link for the appointments to make sure that an appointment hasn't already been set up with your legislator. If one has been, and you know your district, which can be found online at the let's see if we can maybe pull it up.
WA.gov. Yes, if you can definitely show people how to find their district, that's how they will find their legislators. And it's not even worth checking the list of appointments until you know who you're looking for.
Exactly. We have.
I think we can take up live, like turn this webinar into a live screen and pull up the website for people.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, if you can, Nick, that would be great. We have in the prep webinar a lot of information, and that was a link that was sent out a while back, again, as a preparatory presentation, but that can show you, there we go, how to get in touch with where your district is. So figure out who your legislator is here. Look at our
main website and show them the link from the main page.
Yes.
Once you get to District Finder, you're good. But go back to Legislative Home. This is leg.wa.gov.
But even just Googling Find Your Legislator Washington gets you really close to that. Yeah.
That's it. And then see on the left-hand column it says Find Your District. It's the third thing in the left-hand menu right there. That will lead you to the link you need.
And we're hoping at this point, although it's not absolutely too late, but we're hoping at this point that you have done some digging to find out who your legislators are. And if you haven't, it isn't too late. Please get on, find your district, know who your representatives are, and then take a look at who may already have appointments set up. If there's already an appointment set up with your legislator from, by somebody that's attending Hike the Hill, you can email me to be added to their meeting. The link where you actually go in and put in or log your appointment for our tracking purposes is not a request to set up a meeting. And I'm going to say that a couple of times. You will find your district, find your legislator, and contact that legislator yourself. At this point, like Cheryl said, best way to do that is to call, because we are within a couple of weeks of our Hike the Hill event. You may need to call more than once. So call to follow up, and get something on the books for the first. Best case scenario would be after 1 p.m., but please take anything that, or afternoon, excuse me, but take anything that you can. And either with your legislator or your legislative assistant, your legislator's assistant. And then log that appointment with us on the link. So it's a little tricky. There's kind of some steps involved there, but we want to make sure that we're not duplicating appointments and that we have a record of all the appointments that folks will have for Hike the Hill Day.
And that set of like 10 slides on the Google Doc that we created to walk people through that, I think, Nick, you sent that to everyone who was registered, correct?
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
And it's also available on the website homepage.
Is it on? Okay, because that would be good to show people right now real quick because they can then follow each step one by one.
Okay,
But
well,
that's the WOTA website.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the WOTA website, yeah.
There's a specific presentation, small presentation about how to set up a meeting with your legislator.
Yeah, the event flyer and the register now, and oh, let me add that. I'll add that. And it will be links that were sent out in an email.
Right. Perfect.
So
Any other questions that you're seeing, Nick?
Yeah, there are a few more questions. Most of them I'm going to summarize, and this would be for Kate to answer. It is in general, people asking for more specifics about the bills that we are supporting. I have a couple of people saying they have read it, but they're not fully understanding the context.
Okay. So just more information about what this bill that we're working on does, or how to answer if they get more questions than we provide information about?
It is what, you know, why are we supporting it and what the bill does, yeah.
What the current context is that the schools, if they want to hire an OT, they can only pay them as if they were a second-year OT in the profession, no matter how much experience they have. And that makes it hard for an OT who has more than 2 years experience to want to take a job in the school because they can't pay enough. And it makes it hard for the schools to fill the vacancies they have for OTs because they can't offer a realistic salary, especially to experienced people. And what we're doing is changing the law that says the schools can recognize as many years when they hire an OT as they now recognize when they're hiring a counselor or a teacher, which is probably up to 15 years of credit that they can give in setting that OT salary. I hope that answers the question. It actually applies to all education staff associates, so it would apply to OTs, physical therapists, speech therapists, social workers, psychologists, and school nurses. We are all in the same boat, and all of their organizations are also lobbying to support this legislation. I'm actually hoping that we can get everybody's logo together on the fact sheet so that we can show that we're working as a part of a coalition to support the special education staff necessary for the schools to fulfill their obligations to students. And please send us another note if that doesn't quite answer your question. We will be sharing the fact sheet, which has bullet points that you can basically talk through in explaining this issue in your legislative visits. And you know what? If they ask questions you can't answer, that is actually a wonderful opportunity. Make a note, tell me or tell one of the organizers back at our Columbia Room gathering about the legislator questions, and I will follow up with them. And that gives me a second chance to talk to them about this bill. So the more times you talk to a legislator, the more likely they are to understand and support you. So questions you can't answer, they're great. They're golden. Bring them back.
And Kate, just one more detail that I could ask as a follow-up question is, does it apply to OTAs as well as OTs?
It applies to education staff associates. They're certificated staff working in the schools. And I will have to defer. Rose, are you still on the line? Because I know you are a certificated staff in the schools as an OT. Can you help understand what the role of the OTAs is in the school and whether they get classified as ESAs? I just don't know.
This is Cheryl. I don't know if Rose is still on.
Okay, yeah, Cheryl, you're in the schools too.
The last I heard, but I think it might depend on the district, is that they're hired at the level of a paraprofessional, which is like a separate problematic issue because a paraprofessional doesn't have the same level of training as a COTA, so they're getting underpaid as well. But it wouldn't be equivalent to what we're asking for. This particular ask would cover just the MOTs, as far as I understand. But we'll definitely need to figure that out before next Wednesday to get 100% clarity.
Thanks for the question. Great question, and we will do some homework to understand a little bit better.
And then that's about the summary of everything.
Okay.
Thank you for tracking that.
If anything's not clear, please reach out ahead of time. Get those appointments set up with your legislators. Log them with us so that we can help deploy you. Essentially what you'll see on Hill Day is that we'll release those of you that have appointments around your appointment time, so you have to worry less about when your appointment is. We'll help direct you, so that's why we want to know when you're meeting, and also so Kate can know who we are all going to get in front of to give our ask about this bill. So there's many reasons why we like to know who you're meeting with, and we are excited that we're getting those trickled in. So confirm your meetings. We will send out the fact sheet hopefully sometime later this week so that you can really take a look at those bullet points in more depth. And reach out if you have any questions. We're very excited to see you in Olympia on February 1st. See you then. And thanks to the committee. Big thanks. This is a volunteer group of folks that do this work because they love it and they're passionate about it and take their time outside of their busy lives and work. So big kudos, and you'll meet us all on Hike the Hill Day, and you're welcome to join us in the future. We're always looking for more OTs and lovely people to help support this event. So thanks so much. Have a great night.